Calling the meeting of the Personnel Committee on Wednesday, March 1st at 6:06 p.m. The open meeting law and videotape meeting instructions tell us that if our meeting is videotaped, the open meeting law requires you to advise open session meeting attendees as follows. Open session public meetings are subject to being recorded. Your image and your voice may be recorded per the open meeting law, Mass General Laws, Chapter 30A, Section 20E. So I forgot to print out my agenda, but I usually use the same agenda each week. So minutes.
Make a motion, we approve the minutes as written.
Okay, so I sent two sets of minutes. I think it was for the February 15th and February 1st. So 2/1 and 2/15. So I'll second that. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay. All right. The second item of business is the PAFs.
I have two really good PAFs for you that I'm excited about.
Okay.
Which one do you want first?
I want the highway admin first.
That's not one of them. I'm very
Really?
sorry.
That's great.
No.
No, not yet.
But I'll give you a highway one. How's that? I'll
Okay.
compromise.
She said she didn't have that one yet.
Oh, okay.
Sorry. I have a step increase for Adam Crossman because he just got his 90-day review and it was glowing.
Yeah.
He is doing unbelievable. He is full of energy, takes on every project, wants to learn everything, do everything. Fred said he couldn't be happier.
Good.
Wish he, loves working with him. So he.
And after our last meeting, this is documented.
This
that
is
he
documented in his
Thank you.
hire letter.
I just think
Yes.
that's
Yes, it was
So
there.
it was there, yes.
Yeah.
So I have a PAF for that. So he was
Okay.
one of our.
Who's
so
the next one?
That's a good one. Our transfer station manager, Stan Rogalinsky.
Great.
So that's a good one too.
Okay.
So he's our new transfer station manager. Started 2 Saturdays ago, I believe.
I think so, yeah.
And we received a lovely email over the weekend from a resident. We also have, you will be getting a PAF. There's an assistant coming through. And they met the public and apparently were out smiling and people were happy. And it was a really positive, wonderful email that we received. So I just wanted to share that feedback along that the resident was very happy.
Dan was out introducing himself to everybody.
Yep.
he didn't work last week. No.
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 He worked.
He worked last Saturday?
Yeah.
No, Sue's
He was
there.
Nick.
That's great.
Okay.
I didn't think he
Beautiful.
worked. I thought I saw Sue Saturday.
Oh,
Great.
Sue, I thought.
Yeah, I thought I saw Sue Saturday. I didn't see Stan.
Stan was here
And,
when I went.
and
Okay.
a relative.
Well, let's.
Well, everything apparently is going swimmingly. Someone sounds like they're trying to break in the window. Hopefully not.
I'll go open it because I
Come
want to
on
break the
in.
window.
No, one of the things may flip down because that's the noise I heard in the office just before it smacked down and skidded.
Oh, okay.
Okay,
One
so-
of the little slats. Okay.
Yes.
So those are the two PAFs I have for
Great.
you. And,
Okay.
So I
um,
would make a motion that we accept the two PAFs as
I
presented.
second that. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay. Beautiful. There you go.
Thank you.
The next item of business is, are there any position reviews for advertising or position vacancies?
So I can speak a little bit about the highway admin position. We reviewed applications. We set up 5 interviews. 2 tried to set up 5 interviews. 2 did not call back. 1 called and left a message saying she decided it was too far away. 1 called back and said she had just been offered another job. And the 5th one we actually got to interview.
Oh, good.
And she was lovely. My understanding is Fred has made an offer, and I have to touch base with him to see if it has been accepted yet. So we are very close.
So close.
Great.
So I know it's been tough. It's a tough environment, and
Right.
you know,
Right, yeah.
I was really shocked that out of 5 that we picked, we
Ugh.
only ended up being able to interview one. But she was wonderful, so I hope that we can move forward.
After
with
doing
her.
the other highway positions, no, I'm not.
You're not
shocked.
super surprised. Well, yeah,
No.
no.
So the next item of business is any new job descriptions. Did Molly get hers to us yet, or where are we?
Not yet
Okay.
on assessor, but if you wanted, we could speak about the conservation
Oh, that's right,
agent.
Did you bring yours?
Yeah,
And
Oh, good girl.
did I bring extras? I think I
I'd
handed
forget
out
my
the
head
ones
if it
I
wasn't
had.
attached.
oh,
I must have them on here. Do you need one?
No, I'm okay. I mean, do you need a copy or do you have?
No, we have a copy.
Okay.
No,
All right.
I'm good.
So there were, and actually I have the original one in here. So I met with Carolyn, and I actually met with Maddie earlier. Nope, sorry, end of last week. That was not this week. The days start to run together sometimes. And what Carolyn and I had talked about were this original conservation agent proposal that was put together back in 21. And it was based on a 19-hour-a-week position, so it had to be scaled back because obviously the position did not start out at 19 hours. It's at 8 right now. So Carolyn has requested an additional 4 hours, and we talked about the additional responsibilities that she would like Maddie to take on. And so if you look in your, I believe you guys have the red-lined version.
it's blue.
Or blue-lined. Oh, I did print it in color. Excuse me. Yes, excellent, but it came out blue. So basically adding those additional responsibilities, and some of them she noted she was already doing. Hold on, which one she said she was doing. Okay. Yeah, I realized I think I have the wrong copy. Let me just pull this up here.
What's in blue? Do you have? I didn't get.
So what's been added is in blue.
Oh.
Do the temporary or the permanent? That's the temporary.
Right, that's what I got via email. Oh, no.
Oh, she gave it to us last meeting.
This is what I got.
Okay.
Oh, this one here. Okay, we can look on together.
Yeah, I read it a couple times. I just have one.
It's probably in here, I would
I
think.
have one of those questions, you know.
You have one of those questions?
I have a Sue question.
I didn't know there was such a thing. Please.
Yeah, it'll
Proceed.
Sit back and relax.
Here it is. I do.
Um,
I do. Thank you.
You know, I'm really glad that you explained the idea of taking minutes. That some of the minutes need to be more technical.
Yep.
I'm glad you explained that. I come from the old school. You don't pay somebody for their technical expertise and have them do a job that's 4 pay scale, you know, below them.
Sure.
Which to me, we hired her. The whole idea of getting this woman or this position was for their expertise. The state is demanding more. So I took it as that's what we were getting, is a little more expertise. Glad you explained it. So I was okay. And then I started thinking that when these NOIs, all these different hearings come, shouldn't she be more involved in the running or an active participant in those meetings?
Yes.
You know, does she feel comfortable getting involved and taking the minutes? Now, that's something I wanted, you know, more from her.
Sure.
Because I would personally, you know, I know that we paid her for her expertise, and I'd like to see her a little more involved in the meetings than this is the mail that we got since our last meeting. I thought she was going to be more of the expert, bringing in, you know, the educated information. And I'm trying to say that in a nice...
Right.
Sure.
Like,
I think there's crossover between what she currently does in her job, but I think there's also some technical training that she's been getting
Right.
and needs. And that is one of the things I did actually speak to Carolyn about, to make sure that she has all of those tools that she needs, and being able to, and now I have it pulled up here, so being able to take more of a leadership role in those things that you're talking about, taking those off of Carolyn's plate, because Carolyn is still, largely involved in the NOIs, in the enforcement orders, some of those items that we added to here. So, in my conversations with Carolyn, some of that time was to take some additional training and make sure that she's ready to do it. And it also sounded like Carolyn needed to give some time to a little bit of training on how processes go here, so she could transfer those duties over as well. And it's, I think, a more recent thing that Carolyn's time has been limited. And so she's starting that transition more now. And I believe, based on my conversations with her, that's where the need for those extra hours came, because she was still doing a lot of that work. So, basically, it's not just meeting minutes by any means for that 4 hours.
No, I understand that. I don't mean to harp on that. That's just something that, I've always been brought up, that you don't pay for up here and ask them to do down here.
Sure. No, fair enough. I think
bringing them up
Yeah,
to the,
this
right.
is
The challenge is you don't have anyone else in that
Right.
department per
Yep.
se. So some administrative duties I think
Right.
will have to be taken on, but you're right. There should be all of that technical, expertise and enforcement
Yep.
piece of it should be the bulk. Of
Yeah,
it,
I would like to see her checking on some of these enforcement orders and not. No, I thought that was her role,
Okay.
was to be more of an expert.
Well, it's in there now. It doesn't look like the enforcement order piece was in there before. It is in there now, or in the proposal. And looking at kind of a broader picture of community preservation, open space, looking at grant and funding opportunities, and trying to switch more of also kind of like doing the budget and handling everything that comes in with regard to that. We'd also like to see the website get updated as well, which is something that she doesn't necessarily need to physically do, but if she could go through and say what needs to be updated, we can get those updates done for her. It just takes some time for someone to do it, basically.
Right.
So these were Carolyn's recommendations, and that would bring her up with the additional hours. And my, understanding from a lot of the conversations we've had at FinCom is that Carolyn is really trying to transition out. She just can't with the hours that she has, and she has been Berlin's only conservation certified agent for a very, very long time. So she's trying to download that knowledge and send it over. So.
Yeah.
And now
we did ask for, we will be getting monthly, or I will be getting monthly reports.
No, I think that's great, because it can tell you what's new, what just happened that month, and then the status of all the other things that are happening.
Absolutely.
Which is better for you to at least have a handle when things like some of the messes that we're in now, come up. At least you have a record. Now, does Maddie have a workspace in this building? Just out of curiosity.
So I don't believe that she does, other than this lovely area in here.
Because this is where all the files.
Right, but should she have well, she can lock all these files too, because there are going to be some things that should not be accessible.
Yeah. So there may be also, well, there will be rather, a transition in rooms as well. I don't know if we mentioned this before, that we're doing some office switches, but there still will be an office with desk space and everything in these cabinets and it locked, so that she would be able to do that.
Okay.
I just think there's going to be some things that should be locked and not accessible to everyone.
Okay. All right. So do we want to Do we want to approve the job description as revised?
Second.
Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Approved.
3-1. Thank you.
Okay. The next item on the agenda was town administrator information.
Okay, so we received the employee policy manual back from legal counsel. And there are some changes to it to make sure we comply with everything legalese, if you will. I have not had a chance to go through it in depth yet. I did have a brief conversation with Liz Valerio. There were changes. I think the biggest area that things had to be changed were in the FMLA policy.
Okay.
Other than that, it looked like she had some comments on parental leave, paternity or parental leave. Let's see. There are also some updates, it looks like, on Appendix E to the Pregnant Workers Fairness Act that she included that weren't in there previously. Others, it's mostly like the insertion of a few words here or there,
like a lot of words,
to make sure that we're saying everything the right way, which is why we wanted legal counsel to look at it.
That's right.
And there are a few questions that she has as we go through. So would you like to, I don't know if you want to take a little bit of time and kind of go through and look at some of the questions. I can kind of lead us through that if that works for you.
Sure.
All right.
Sure, that's fine. I don't want to, I know you guys have FinCom tonight, right?
Yes, 7:30. So we've got a little bit of time.
Okay.
Let's see what the first question was that she had. Let's see. Okay, so one of the first questions she had was on page 10. In the continuous service definition.
Was there one before that?
Sorry, let's keep digging.
Yeah, there was up on complaint. I think it was just to switch it over to you instead.
Oh, I'm sorry, I missed that one. Yep. So under complaint procedures, it says employees and applicants may contact the select board. She just recommended it say town administrator.
I agree.
I thought I thought we tried to do that on.
I think
we missed that one. Maybe there's so many little places. So, thank you, June.
Yep.
And then, okay. And any unauthorized absence of more than 3 days will constitute a break in service, and such absence will not accumulate service credits. So she's saying, is this 3 consecutive days? I think that was the intent, was 3 consecutive days, if I'm reading that correctly.
I believe so.
Yes. Yep.
And then she says, do you want to change this from a break in service to a... I don't know that we want to change it...
Did she say something about
to voluntary resignation, which I think is not the intent. I think the intent was to say that for the purposes of accruing leave.
Yeah, I don't think we want it.
That's a break in service, right? Am I?
If it was unauthorized, I would say yes. But
what does that mean? Like
I know
break in service. What does that do? What does that constitute?
I'm trying to remember what.
Like, do we stop? Do they not accrue benefits during that time?
They could, yeah. They wouldn't be entitled to like insurance
coverage,
that type of thing. Where if it's a break, then you kind of have to start all over again on. It's like you've left
service.
employment.
Okay. So when it says such absence will not accumulate service credits, that could be credits towards. Maybe it might be helpful if we put like, i.e., insurance, leave benefits.
Because I was going to say that it
clarify
references
a little.
continuous service in a couple of these other policies later on too, I think.
Yeah, I think maybe just adding insurance, leave accruals, etc., might kind of help with that. And I can send that back to her and see what she thinks. Yeah, I think everything.
Page 11, that was one.
So under probationary employee, she's good. The first 90 days of employment shall serve as a trial period. Is this 90 calendar days or 90 work days? I think calendar was probably
Calendar.
the intent,
We've done
right?
it
Yeah.
by calendar in the past year.
But that's a good question.
Yep.
Calendar, okay. Let's see. So on page 13, all vacancies are posted in the town hall. And she's saying to consider replacing it with posted on the town's website and or in the town hall, which actually should say town offices, I think.
Yeah,
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, because town hall.
because
is up-
everybody's thinking town hall
The
is the
center.
building up at the center.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Barry will set us straight on that.
That's right.
Because I still call this the town hall and get yelled at it on occasion.
Posted.
You just do it on purpose.
On the town's
It's not high on my priority.
website. I like that because that gives us some flexibility too as we modernize and continue to kind of digitize and move online with things. So that's good. All right. Looks like on page 14 that was just something that was a duplicate that she removed. Probationary period again, she's asking on page 16 if that's calendar or
Calendar.
work. So we'll put in calendar. On page 18, under Corey information, she's asking, do you do national fingerprint checks for criminal records for any position? I don't think we do.
I think it's just the police, isn't it? We don't hear, but.
And they're
Isn't that
governed
part
by
of-
their union contracts, not this. So,
Yeah.
And school
I'll ask
custodian.
her about that.
School custodian isn't us.
it's not
That's
right.
not us anymore.
So the only people that,
Maybe the bus driver.
no, we don't do bus
EMTs are-
drivers.
EMTs, oh, the EMTs would be tough because part of them are under the union contract.
Right.
It would
know,
be the
but-
call ones that would be under this,
You think about who goes,
but I don't think they fingerprint them.
but they actually go into people's
They do as
homes.
well as the council on aging, van drivers too.
Right.
But I
I'm
don't
just-
think we do fingerprinting. Of
All
course,
right.
I don't even know how we'd go about that. We'd probably have to run it through the police. I don't know if that's something.
Yeah.
Well,
I've
it's something
not seen
just
it.
to think about.
Yeah, I mean, it's not something that I've seen as common. I think in schools it is.
Yes.
And she was probably thinking if
Schools-
we had any school employees on our books or if this covered any school employees,
Mhm.
which it doesn't. So
I mean,
I can
because
run that back by her.
They'll
Okay.
say schools, and the other people that they'll say is librarians,
Librarians?
children's librarians. Sometimes they'll,
Ah, interesting.
Yeah. Because that's not part of the quarry.
Yeah, yeah.
Now, is there a way that we could do that where if something is flagged under the quarry? Because I don't know what type of information comes back from the quarry, if you get detail or it's just there's an issue.
We get detail. So if something's
Yeah.
flagged under the quarry, that would typically be a decision that the town administrator and the select board would make based on the nature of the position and the nature of the
and I think
misdemeanor
seriously
or
Right.
whatever.
with fingerprints. Now that you think about it, I mean, you get the quarry, you know, yes or no.
I would think.
The fingerprints, we're not going to keep them on record.
The only thing
Right.
the fingerprints would do is if we actually run them through.
If we had an issue later,
Code us.
And that's what I was thinking, is that one person.
We watch
that,
too
like-
many shows.
We can find you if you ever leave
Exactly.
and make you come back.
So I
You
don't
must
really
stay.
know if we.
I wouldn't,
I think it's a little much because we do run all of those
as long
quarry
as we have the
checks
quarries
and
on those important
we can-
positions.
We have the authority to run a SORI based on this as well for anyone who has close or unsupervised contact with children, the disabled or the elderly. So
Right.
I think we're covered on both.
So I wonder
those
if you could
fronts.
add it in there,
The fingerprinting
if needed.
on the SORI?
You know what I mean? It doesn't necessarily mean that you're going to do it every time, but if needed, if something comes up that.
I just don't even see why,
Why
we
would it be-
need
But
it.
then you'd have to do it for everybody.
But why
not
would it be
just-
needed? Think about,
I don't
we've
know,
already got the Corey, you've got the sorry, it tells you,
any issues that are in the record.
Yeah.
so you're gonna get their fingerprints and then send it into another data bank to
Another
see?
national database.
No.
I'll ask her what
That's
she's
just for fun,
referring
like,
to.
Why would we ever have to do that,
'Cause-
or should do that?
Yeah, because I'm gonna, once we go through this, I'm gonna just have a call or send her an email
Yeah.
with all those. Sometimes I find emails are faster, because you get on a call and you end up going round and round.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Call me new age, but sometimes I get faster with emails.
Yep.
All right, I'll ask her about that. And then on page 19, the I-9 form must be signed before beginning work on the first day.
So
Yeah, we make them
if
sign
we
the
say, if we
I-9
do
before.
say that, then she took out the 72 hours.
Oh, because we contradicted ourselves.
Right.
We said 72 hours in the first sentence and before the first day of work
Right.
in the second
Yep.
sentence. Okay,
Yeah.
got it. I think we want that before they start working.
Well, I think
Yeah, we have
maybe-
already made them the offer. They're coming in to do their pre-employment
Yeah, I was
paperwork.
gonna
This
say, that's
was-
part
yeah.
of the pre-employment,
Right.
you can't.
This looks like it's an old rule because it says after 1986 they have to provide it within 72 hours of employment. Well, now we want it before. I'll cover that. All right, we'll make that change. Or accept that change, rather. All right. Let's see. So on page 24, it says, all town employees will receive paychecks on the established payday unless complications prohibit payment, snow, storms, etc. In this instance, paychecks will be issued to employees at the earliest possible date, but not exceeding 6 days per MGL Chapter 149, Section 148. And her comment is, we need to discuss edits to this provision and ensuring payroll compliance. I will have to ask her exactly what
Right.
she's referring to on that one.
I don't know, we've never had.
Sounds like something may have changed and we need to write that a certain way, but in all the other instances, she referenced what we needed to write, but she didn't do it there, so I'm not sure what that means.
And we don't want to change that much, because we don't want our employee having to come in the middle of a snowstorm.
We have to legally, because otherwise they won't get paid in time.
But this says you don't have,
Wow.
this,
But
is,
now
the,
we're
union-
trying to
the
make
union can
remote-
say other.
this gives you, that's not right.
Just did it by
I know,
the
but
federal laws, you have to pay them within, I thought it was 7 days, but,
So, that, yeah, but that's okay. I mean, within the 7 days, if there's a,
but we're already,
like that ice storm that we had a couple of years ago.
yeah, we still had to come in.
I know.
But now you have laptops. And
Which is
how much
true.
can you do from home?
We're still working out the bugs on that, but yeah.
Okay.
So, yeah, just to see what she really meant by that as far as,
Okay. And then apparently the Fair Labor Standards Act has changed substantially.
Yeah.
So she's
Wow.
rewritten that.
Yep.
You cannot have a use it or lose it provision on comp time in lieu of overtime pay for non-exempt employees.
Did we have a use it or lose it?
It says compensation earned must be used within the fiscal year in which it is
Oh,
earned.
I see. Yeah. Okay.
Um,
and she's saying that we can't do that?
correct.
Right.
The only reason why I think that's there is because people could possibly hold comp time to get paid at a higher rate.
Oh, interesting.
And that's why.
Well, you cannot have a use it or lose it if it's earned in lieu of overtime pay.
But I thought we were also supposed to do it within a week. Isn't there something in here
I
that has to
thought
be
so,
done
too.
within a week?
I thought so too.
So the only time that would come into effect would be as if it was like a split at the fiscal year.
Compensatory time must be tracked by pay. I'll have to talk to her about that. That's a little unclear to me, especially the.
Here it says flex time is only within the same pay week. And there is no carryover. Underneath E.
Yep.
on
So
25.
compensatory time is different than flex time though, apparently, because the last sentence says compensatory time does not apply to flex time.
So what's the difference?
Flex time is flexible work schedule. So like if you would normally work 9 to 5 and you had to work 10 to 6 one week or a couple of days, or that's flexible. So you're not actually taking time, you're shifting your schedule, would be my understanding of flex time. Although this is talking about reducing.
Well, here it says. though,
Reducing time for meetings.
I was gonna say the first part of it though, underneath the compensatory time, underneath the fair labor,
Mm-hmm.
it does say that the use of it by employees must be subject of an agreement in advance.
I
Yeah.
see what the difference is.
Yep,
The Fair Labor Standards talks about time and a half for going over 40 hours.
Oh, so you
Um,
have to take it at time and a half. You can't.
If you're going over 40 hours, it's time and a half. I think flex time is if you work 2 hours, if you go to a meeting for 2 hours and then
Yep.
you come in 2 hours late the next morning, like that's just like a trade-off as
Right.
opposed
Yeah.
to taking
Yeah.
time at time and a half.
right, right.
Oh, straight time versus time and a half.
Correct.
Because then otherwise we go
yep.
against the fair
Right.
labor boards because now we're trying to get out of not having to pay overtime.
Right.
Exactly. So
So
what
maybe
we would
that's
do,
the
and that's how, like, I guess I guess I've been using the word comp time incorrectly all along, because I really, when I mean comp time, it's usually flex time, meaning,
Right.
Mary goes to a select board meeting.
Right.
Mary,
Mhm.
is there for 2 hours.
Right.
Mary, comes in 2 hours late the next morning, or she leaves 2 hours early on Thursday, or
Yep.
whatever.
Right.
That way we don't have to pay her for those extra
Right.
hours, which
Right.
saves us money, because
Yep.
it's not like we have a separate
Yep.
pot sitting aside to pay,
Right.
extra
Right.
money for
Yep.
extra hours.
Yep,
So I guess flex time is the more appropriate word for that.
I mean, she did add in here that employees shall be permitted to use accrued compensation, can't say it, time within a reasonable period,
right,
is kind of what she put down here. So she's just saying that you can't just lose it.
right, okay,
Okay.
all right.
So that the thing with what's interesting is I'm going to ask her what is a reasonable period, because couldn't that be like 5 years?
Yep.
I mean, if it's not defined, do you know what I
would say,
mean? I don't
yeah,
like
it
that.
should be
It
defined.
has to be defined.
Agreed.
Yeah, no,
We
it
run
has
into
to
too
be.
many issues with semantics.
I know.
And because the department head is responsible for tracking that, and then if we lose track, then.
Okay, I agree. All right, so we'll address that. Oh, she didn't like the training and education policy, huh? All right, let's see. Oh, I see. She just reworded which we were struggling with this wording too. The town may require an employee to sign an agreement that in the event the employee separates from employment with the town within 2 years from receipt of reimbursement for tuition, fees, and books,
Yep,
the employee will return to the town the amount of reimbursement the employee received. The town administrator has the authority to waive all or part of the amount that the employee is required to return to the town and may prorate the amount.
yep. What page you
So
on?
she's
30,
just given a
30.
little bit more
I missed it.
flexibility and clarification
Yeah,
to it.
good,
That's page 30. Sorry,
Yeah.
I should have
That's
said the page
great.
number.
No, that's the one that we were,
We were struggling. We were going back and forth about how to write
on how it
so-
should be written, yep. That's great.
Actually, sorry, going back to 29, I know she did something under meals. Just said that we can consider a higher reimbursement amount if allowed by federal or state travel guidelines and the market in the area where the employee is traveling. At the town administrator may do that.
Just no lobster.
No lobster. Or
why not?
no fillet.
Not unless you can get
No
it
surf
cheap.
and turf for you. Or anyone.
No prime rib.
That's right.
Lobster tail, and, $150 per person bill.
No, God, no.
It's
All right.
happened.
Oh, God, that's
I
crazy.
can do that easy.
All right, so she did make a couple of changes, it looks like, to the section 5, which begins on page 32. This is the already approved section, so we are going to have that re-voted on. This is the part that was approved last summer, so I did touch it.
Yep.
And it looks like the changes are minor. They're just wording changes.
Yeah, they're just,
And clarifications. It doesn't look like
Yep.
anything
I was gonna say all
major.
Cobra stuff
Yep.
is based on law, I think, it doesn't really.
Yep. Although when we get to page 35,
33, do we have to change Columbus Day to Indigenous People Day?
oh, where is that?
Page 33?
Oh, I missed that.
oh my word.
Do we have to take a formal vote? I don't know the answer to that.
I don't either.
Let me ask.
But this is part that was already approved, so I think your select board would probably tell you which they want it to be, and not our call.
Yep. All right.
Give it to someone
I
else.
would just
Because
hope
it's
that
still
I
the same
could remember
days.
that.
Right. it's
You're
just a
not
different
taking away a
title.
holiday, it's just different name.
I,
So she took out, on page 35, the comment A13, she took out the reference to the employee's anniversary date. Which I actually agree with. I don't totally understand that. Maybe I'm missing something. I thought that carryover carrying over vacation balances would be on a fiscal year basis.
Where are you?
I'm sorry, page 35, comment A13. So she's saying that the reference to anniversary date doesn't make sense because she's talking about carryover vacation balances, and typically carryovers in, what we experience happens at
I'd
fiscal
agree
year
with
time.
that. Why did we have anniversary date there, or was that just
That
something
wasn't-
that Sandy put in when we,
no, there was,
Is that maybe for...
For
like-
vacation time?
Yeah,
Yeah.
for carryover.
This was one of those where I think there was some people that was doing it based on the anniversary date versus some were doing it on a fiscal year basis.
and some people
But
were
the cap-
coming in a month before the new fiscal year.
Right.
So there
Where-
were some issues with that throughout.
But now, after this year.
It can't happen anymore.
It's not gonna happen
Right.
anymore, so it doesn't really matter.
Okay. But I wonder, now looking at this,
This is also one of those, at the end of the fiscal year, can you be allowed to bring forward? But now it doesn't matter, because it's always based on total amount that you have accumulated.
okay.
It doesn't necessarily mean it's gonna be an anniversary date.
Well, I would think that it should read, the town administrator also has the authority to allow the employee to carry over vacation balances at the end of the fiscal year.
I would say no,
Why?
because the way that we're doing it now with this
Yep.
is that once you hit your maximum amount, you stop accruing. So the
Oh,
only,
so you're saying it automatically rolls?
it doesn't matter when, because like if I use up a ton of time,
Gotcha.
it could be my anniversary date, it could be a fiscal year, you know what I mean? So the only time that that would happen is if something really weird happens, but I would say that would be a case-by-case thing for
Yeah.
you to be able to say, oh yeah, okay, I'm not gonna say any things could happen, but.
Well, we all know things do.
right?
Right, but that's right, because this was the
Okay.
weird year.
This
Yeah.
year is a really weird.
This is
we
the
hope
weird year,
This is like the
But
most weird
next year,
ever.
they start accruing and it
It'll
all
be
becomes.
normalized.
And technically, they'll hit a plateau and they can't accrue anymore, and the
Right.
payrolls company.
Okay.
So that would be up to them or their supervisor to tell them you're maxed out and you need to start using it.
Okay.
But
All right, that makes sense to me.
still, it should be. You should still have the authority to do it if
If there's a
something really
situation that
weird
arises.
happens that
Yeah.
needs to be
So,
addressed.
but not tied to any specific date or year or
I-
anything
I would
like
say
that.
probably
No, you
no.
just have the authority to listen to and,
Yeah, so let's just say I hit 7.5 weeks this week, and I can't use up any time for the next month or two. You would grant me 2 months.
Right.
You know what I mean, type of a thing versus.
To use it, or, yeah,
Yeah,
got it.
right, you need her, it's budget season, she
Right.
can't take it now.
Right.
She has it.
I'm
you
a big
can-
meanie and I say you can't go on vacation.
exactly.
Oh, you'd be in so much trouble. I know. Face in June.
What was that one I just saw about
I try to
unapproved
get
3
her
days
to go
and
on
then I'm
more
done?
vacations.
What was that? Say it again.
What's that one
Well, there's one that had to do with the 3-day absence was classified as a separation of service.
No call, no show, that's called. No call, no show.
Sent some thinly veiled threats over here. All right, let's see. Personal leave. Oh, looks like she just made some changes here.
Oh, important.
Oh.
Legal, we didn't think of that. Huh?
Personal leave is not to be used to extend a holiday or a vacation period. I think that's a good add.
Yes.
Oh, actually, we've always had that.
Oh, we have?
Like you can't. It has to be pre-approved.
Personal leave?
Well, in the past, it was one of those where usually it's a pre-approved thing. Where here she's saying it's not.
Different from vacation. Well, this is, so her change, it was in here that personal leave is different from vacation and that it does not require advanced approval. She's just saying, she's adding on that you
So it
can't
can't be
tack it
after a
on to a
vacation.
weekend, or
Yeah.
I don't feel like coming in Monday after my week off.
After
kind
the
of thing.
Super Bowl.
Okay. Personally does not accrue. Oh, I think that's good. She said, you can't pay it out upon separation from employment.
Oh, we didn't have that in there.
We had, maybe it was just not, it says not compensable upon termination, resignation. Oh, she added death or retirement. So we sort of had it in there. I think she just fleshed it out a little bit more. Oh, this gives us the option to deny it if desired staffing levels cannot be met. If not enough advanced notice is given, and we can deny a request, I guess. It says it does not require advance
You go
notice.
into personal leave or the other one?
I was just looking at personal. I'm still trying to get used to this SNLA policy. I jumped over to 36, the Snella.
Oh, we need to do renumbering too on the pages.
Did they get off again?
No, it's just that originally it was page 25, page 26, and then it went to 36 of 114, but there isn't a 114 page. It only goes up to 113. But
How did it do
I don't
that?
know.
Okay, there's a
Same.
mysterious blank page 114 somewhere.
Somewhere.
We'll
Stop
fix that.
printing.
Thank you.
Sometimes it's not
printing.
page 1. Sometimes they miss page 1.
Okay.
So-
Could be.
On 36, she's saying, the 24 hours must be taken within a 12-month calendar year period. This is inconsistent with the first paragraph, which states the leave is a rolling, not a calendar year. Please confirm which you use and correct accordingly. So for the Small Necessities Leave Act, do we do this based on a rolling 12 months? I would think that would probably be better because FMLA is rolling.
Rolling.
It doesn't go by fiscal year or
Right.
calendar year.
It's easier to remember that way too, because if they're both rolling years.
Right.
Yeah.
Like, so I started needing to use this in March.
Right.
So I can only use the rest of it in a 12-month period, which would be the following March.
Right.
That's a little easier to track than being like, well, it started in September, but the fiscal year was really in
Right,
July. Or
right.
do we use January? Yeah,
Right.
I would think.
Yep.
What do you think, June? You think rolling or calendar?
I don't know because we've never run into it.
Okay.
The only time that we have run into something like this is intermittently.
Okay.
So like if there's a situation that's ongoing, sometimes it isn't just for a short period of time. It could be a prolonged period of time for the same situation or for the same reasoning. So that would be the only thing that I know we've run into.
Okay.
But how often do you need to update the information? I don't know any of that part of it.
Yeah,
as
this
far
is
as
a
the
weird
legal
one that I'm
thing.
not super familiar with either. I would think maybe we could start with rolling, and if we run into an issue with it, we could always amend it later.
That way it's consistent and we know that's what it is.
Yeah.
I think it's just probably mentally and paperwork-wise easier to track. And then she's saying she added to be eligible for this type of leave, you have to be employed for 12 months or more.
Yep, that's true.
And it is unpaid leave. So she's recommending we add this sentence, that it's unpaid, but we require the employee use paid leave if they have it.
At one time, we had it that they had to use like half of their vacation time before they. But I don't know if that's kind of what she was getting
I
at.
think that is what she's getting at. Because I would almost think that this would be something you would tap into after your leave is exhausted, right?
I mean, I would think so, but the other thing is that, you know, if it's an emergency type thing, if you can go without pay versus saving, but again,
Saving up a
it's-
vacation day.
Yeah.
Well, I guess that's the question. Do we want to allow people to take unpaid leave if they have paid leave? That's, I think, what the heart of what she's getting at here.
Because what do we have for the? Because it's the same but different as family medical leave, right? Where this one here is more for
Just doctor's appointments.
doctor's
school.
appointments, schools, elderly care, nursing home interviews.
I mean, I would assume a lot of times the employee would want to take it
With vacation,
paid, but I'll give you an example. So my husband just started a new job. He only gets 2 weeks of vacation. He had to go to his son's concert and had to leave 2 hours early and said, rather than me taking 2 hours of vacation, can I just take that unpaid so I can retain my 2 weeks vacation because that's all I have.
Right.
That would
that
qualify.
would fall
Yep.
under this.
Yep.
Yeah.
So this here though is saying that is it required or could be used?
She's saying she recommends that we require it, but it is not required. That is her it is her recommendation that we require paid leave to be used. But I feel like in a weird way that sort of defeats the purpose of the whole thing, doesn't it?
It does, because otherwise just take vacation time.
Right.
Unless,
That I feel like that pushes people to just be like, oh, I'll call it sick.
don't want to push too many, or say that it's happening. I don't want to sound accusatory, but you have those people too that want to use every
Yeah, so that, I got 24 hours here.
last option, and then decide, well, I really want to go to this party, so I'll take that one on because I used up.
Yep.
You just don't want to be taken advantage of either.
Mm-hmm. That's fair. I mean, this one I think is very specific, but I think to your point, that's why Liz is recommending that if they have leave, they take it.
And then they at least have to come in and talk to you about it, or tell you what's going on.
What if we another option is we could say the town may require the employee. We could leave this as, I know we don't like
No,
these.
because if you hate me, you could make me use all my vacation time.
Well, I should get fired
Versus
then.
if you like Claire,
Frankly.
then you'd give it to her.
That's awful.
Yeah,
that
but
we have
that's
to put
not her-
safeguards
No,
for
but I'm
that.
saying that. I mean, could it happen? It could happen.
I suppose it
versus,
could.
I know, but that could happen in any
Always
situation.
gonna be and there's
It
always
could.
going to be those weird exceptions
That could happen
that
in
you
any situation.
have to
and-
plan for.
See, I'd almost say it would be better
For
if you
these,
say half.
where this is 24 hours a year, it's less likely that it's going to impact on benefits like
So it'd be 3
FMLA
days,
would. So
yeah.
if somebody's out for FMLA for like a whole 12 weeks or so, if they're out for that and they go without pay, then we have to go after them for, for their benefit deductions and everything like that.
Right.
So you're less likely to have that typically that's why you want people to take paid time, because you don't want to have to go hunting them down to get money for their benefit deductions.
I mean, this is only 24 hours now. If you
Right.
said it that way, I wasn't thinking 24 hours. I was thinking a year.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, yeah, I mean, this
So
is
it's
only
1
3
day,
days.
1 day this month, so 1 day every 3 months or every 4 months, really, when you think about it.
Yeah.
So I think that if we were to say SNA leave, like you said, June, if SNA leave is unpaid leave, however, the town may require, I don't know, do we want to say that, or do we want to say the employee may
I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt.
substitute available paid leave for the unpaid SNLA? Instead of saying the town requires that the employee, we could say the employee may substitute available paid time, such as vacation leave.
Yeah, but I mean, you could do that anyway. Like I could just say I'm going to use a vacation day, or
Right.
I mean, there
because you
are,
can't use sick time to do something like this, right?
no.
So yeah,
There are other sections where things are left up to the discretion of the town administrator. And, like you said, Sue, I would hope that somebody would fire me if I acted that way. Because that's not right. But I don't know why, in this case, I almost feel like taking that whole thing out, because I feel like it defeats the purpose of the...
This should just be there in an emergency type thing.
Right.
Mhm.
Like, okay, I have to... my kids' soccer team made the playoffs, and I have to
Yeah.
leave at noon today,
Right.
or whatever, because
Yeah.
it's 2 hours away.
Right.
And I don't,
Or
I
the
don't want
school
to use
just
my
called and
vacation
my
leave.
daughter just broke her collarbone going down a hill tobogganing.
Yeah.
Oh, I had that one.
Yeah.
Oh,
Not fun.
I mean,
But yeah.
I think it's good she recommended that we can do it or gave us that option, but I think in this instance it's such a few number of hours.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it provides more of a benefit to the employee if we allow them to take it unpaid.
Right.
And I think if it's an abuse type of thing, then that would just be a
I would say
take somebody aside.
the
and say,
majority
"Yes,
of employees are going to take it paid because they
Usually.
need that.
Right.
So
But I would say if somebody was new, this
Right.
would come into play.
That would help.
or,
Yeah.
And that would really help somebody
Yes.
who has, yeah.
Absolutely. All right.
okay, good.
Yeah, so we're going to take that out. Is
Take
that what
that, I
you're-
think take that out, yep. I feel like the spirit and intent of that whole law is for it to be able to be unpaid. So that makes sense. All right, and then on 37, I think she's saying that we just wrote it wrong.
Yep.
We want it to say you have to notify at least 2 hours prior.
Right. Yep.
If you are going to be missing work
Yep.
for sick leave.
Is it you have to, or is that? One of
An
the
employee
policies.
must notify
So if they
the
come in at
appropriate-
6, they notify you at 4.
I'm on.
I wouldn't want to get the call at 4 a.m.
No.
Well, you could always text.
Oh, I
You
know.
leave
But
a
that's that
voice message.
whole-
Leave a voice message. It's there.
The
Yeah.
office.
Yeah. And then, so I understand that one.
Okay.
Oh, I like the idea of putting the pattern of
Then
absence.
parental leave.
So all of this, though, was already part of the vote, right? So it's going to have to all be redone.
So,
Or do we have to do a hearing
think we'll just-
on everything?
I don't think so.
see, this
we'll
is,
just
I
have
don't know
them-
how this got in here because on G,
one?
parental leave. So
These are
I'm
the select board policies, so.
on parental leave.
Mhm.
Read that. So how did we, I thought we took that out so
Oh.
that they can't use sick time.
Well, she's saying we should, so I don't know how it got in there, but it should come out, she's saying.
Yeah, I thought that was.
I thought we took that out.
Yeah, they.
That you couldn't use your sick leave
Well,
for taking care of parents.
Well, no, this is if
this is parental for you are the parent.
you're the parent. You have a baby, your wife had a baby.
Oh, okay. All
Yep.
right. Okay.
Yep. Yeah. The other one, I know what you're talking about.
Yeah.
Because you can also use FMLA.
Family leave, I'm
Which
thinking.
allows
Yep.
you to use sick leave.
Yes.
So I see what they're saying
Oh, so
here.
technically you kind of use family medical leave.
Right, for under parental.
Right.
Yeah, you should be able to, because
And-
typically you're out because you had a child.
And remember, FMLA and parental leave run concurrently.
Yes.
So you don't get 12 weeks of FMLA and 8 weeks
Right.
of parental leave.
Right,
Is she the one that put the line through the definition of immediate family?
Yep.
Because that was,
That was one thing we added.
well, that was,
So I wonder if there's a reason why. Is that like a legality thing?
Let me
Appendix
ask about
C.
that.
yes, the Board of Selectmen was very much into that.
All right, let me ask about that.
Appendix C. I wonder, because it's already in Appendix C, maybe that's why she crossed that off.
Oh, she may, right, when we get to Appendix C, that when
Yep.
we flesh it out more, there may be more
Yeah.
information. This stuff all looks pretty, oh. Page 40, she did it again.
Oh, she took out the webpage, huh?
Oh, no, she just said step-parent instead of us spelling out stepfather, stepmother, parent, or she just said parent or step-parent, I see that, or sibling or step-sibling. Okay, never
Why
mind.
did she take out the website?
Maybe it's not there anymore?
I was thinking that way there, we didn't have to print it all if it changed.
I know, I thought that was,
But
I'll check that. Let me check to make sure the link works, and then I'll ask if it does.
but she
why
did it on the
remove.
next website too.
So we wanted that
that was just so we didn't have to change anything in it,
in case
I think
law
is what it
changes.
was. Yeah.
No, that makes sense. We may still be obligated to update this, though, if something does change.
So I wonder why she, oh no, she just said parent.
Oh, yeah, she took them all out.
But she left the in-laws. Is that funny?
Oh, I'm sorry, I was referring to the website,
Yeah.
the website, like, she took them all out.
Yeah. Oh. Yeah, I know why.
All right, then she had something on page 44 under town property. She says, consider replacing in these policies within the employee's employment contract with the town.
Which one is that?
But not every employee has
Oh.
a contract.
They don't have,
Well, at one point, if you were given any town property, like when I was on the rescue squad, they gave me a pager, blah, blah, blah. So that was assigned to me. So it was like a contract between me and the town. It wasn't an actual contract, but I signed out my pager
Okay.
or my radio or whatever. So I wonder if that's what she's referring to.
Maybe, but she's actually saying the employee's employment contract with the town. You know, so few of us have I think there's only 3 of us that have contracts.
right, right.
Me, fire chief, police chief, right?
Yep,
But you're right, maybe she's getting at something else there and I'm just misinterpreting.
Or is she pretty much just saying that it's up to the department head to do that?
Could be. Do you make your head for that trouble? Consider replacing these policies within the employee's employment contract with the town. All right, maybe I can think
Oh,
on that one.
unless
a little
she's
more.
saying, use of town property, resources, and personnel for any personal use is prohibited unless otherwise specific in this policies. So is it just that you're not supposed to be using anything for personal use? Unless it's in a contract. And the only time that would happen is like if you can take home a cruiser, or, because that's in a contract. I wouldn't be able to take home a
Oh.
vehicle.
Oh, okay.
Do you know what I mean? So unless
Oh.
that's more or less what she's,
Town property, but what
Like,
about
we're
employees
thinking
that
of
take
a
their
radio.
laptops home, but it's not for personal use?
it shouldn't be for
Ah,
personal. So she's
this
saying
is referring
nothing,
to personal use.
nothing is supposed to go home for personal use, even like a highway truck
Right,
or
but
a police cruiser.
unless it's in an employment contract where police and fire had incidental use, because if they're on duty and they're going somewhere and they can stop and grab something, you know,
And
like,
technically, that's only for emergency personnel,
yes,
because otherwise we have to add it to their W-2
right.
as a pay increase.
Interesting.
Mm. That's why some choose not to take their car home.
Get it. That makes sense. So okay, so unless otherwise
So, I mean, you
specified
can
in
ask
the
her.
employee's employment contract with the town.
I mean, you can double check with her. To see
Right,
if
because
that's
it's
what she-
referring back to personal use, which technically nothing should be used for
Personal use.
personal use unless it's
to stop at the
de
bank on the way
minimis
into
is the
work.
word
Yeah.
she was using, like very de minimis personal use for fire chief and police chief vehicles.
Yep.
I think
Because
it-
if it's going to endanger the public by, they have to go all the way back home, drop their car, pick, or whatever, you know,
Yeah.
I guess that's that. Oh, they start to hurt my head a little. All right. Oh, page 46, she added exceptions to the cell phone and texting. Oh, you can, oh, so she's saying you can use a cell phone to do Zoom, Skype, or another video conference.
Yep.
Because I guess you can listen into those as a, you don't have to have the video piece of those on, you can just listen to
Oh,
them.
you can get on the meetings on your phone.
Yeah.
Yeah,
We had a,
but they're
But you're
talking
not
about
supposed
in
to
the
be doing it while
vehicle.
you're driving.
You can listen, but you're not supposed to be like on it, looking at it while you're driving.
I was told I was told by a police,
You're actually supposed to pull over.
I know, but you cannot be stopped. And it's actually the company, like my husband's company says you may not get on a Zoom meeting on your phone or be on any meeting while you are traveling. But it's more the company that has to say it. The police cannot pull you over
Interesting.
Oh, I thought they could for using your phone.
if it's in one of those,
Oh, if it's in hands-free.
yeah.
Oh, because the issue is hands-free,
Yeah.
not
But-
like you're watching something.
But you're still talking
Right.
to your,
You're still driving,
we
going
saw
like
that.
this.
Exactly.
Yeah,
That's
I'm
a
not
little
very
scary.
good at that anymore.
Oh, I need to put my hands on.
Yeah, I do too. No daydreaming.
This doesn't make sense, though. I gotta ask her about this because it contradicts itself. The first part of the sentence says, "No employee shall FaceTime, Zoom, Skype, or use any other video conference application while operating a vehicle." And then the last part says, "With the exception of town business being conducted on Zoom, Skype, or another video conference."
Yeah, no, because we don't want our highway guys to
Yeah.
be like,
Yeah, I think that needs to come out. I'll ask about that. It's a little weird. So on page 49, under email, she just added employees do not have an expectation of privacy in using the town's email system, which I think is important to note. That is public record and not private. All right, is 56 the next one we're at? Mobile devices?
Yeah.
This is the de minimis personal use that I was talking about.
Yep.
As authorized in an employment contract, same thing. So if your employment contract says you can do it, otherwise you can't.
Okay.
wow, most of that we got a okay on. Did you see that?
I know, that was pretty good.
I'll take that.
Pretty good. I like it. This is all little stuff. This is nothing like, what
Oh,
did
this
you
is-
do? This is very good, guys.
Except now I'm going to be bad and use my cell phone just so I can text my husband because he's getting off the plane and I want him to call me when he gets on the bus.
Of course.
Oh.
Just so I know he's on the bus.
You're
That's
going
your
down
phone,
from
though.
here to pick them
Yeah.
up.
Yeah, but that's
Oh.
your
Yeah, your
phone.
phone.
You're not using a town.
I know, but you're not
phone.
supposed to text during open
Well, you're
meeting.
not, so none of, you want us to all show our phone, you're not texting us?
I know.
You're not supposed to text if it violates a quorum. As an employee, I may have to text somebody to say, hey, you need to come in here and bring something.
Right,
or
yeah,
whatever.
no, that kind of stuff, yes.
Oh, I
It's that open meeting discussion thing.
Yeah, you can't
do
have
that.
like a sideline discussion
Exactly.
in lieu of
So that's
saying
what
it on
she,
camera.
that's why she just,
I get it.
yes.
I just wanted
She
to-
wasn't
Slow
texting
on the
Claire.
uptake. Got it.
I
You
didn't
weren't
text
texting
Claire.
No.
Or me, or June.
Or
Nope.
me.
I got it.
Or Roger, because he was sleeping.
I'm a
The
little slow on
the
uptake.
second, so the first one we're okay with, but the second one on page 56, does the town want to consider requiring reimbursement for loss?
I mean, it is covered under insurance, but only if it hits a certain threshold, like a deductible will
Yeah.
apply to
Yeah.
it. So if it's under the deductible, we're going to end up paying for it unless we require reimbursement. I don't think that's a bad idea.
There's always that person that's lost 3 of them.
Right.
Right.
There's always that.
And it says under certain circumstances, right?
Right.
So like,
Yeah.
you know, you're taking your laptop out of your car and, you know, you get hit and the laptop break, you know, or something
Right.
like
Yeah.
that.
Exactly.
That's not.
Yep. Yeah,
But,
so,
oops, I drove my car over my laptop
No, but if
for
I
the
was
third
using
time.
it in the middle of the pool and yeah, then you're
I was on the raft and my
using it for video and yeah.
and my kid came and splashed it and
Yeah.
I think
so that's
good.
something we may want to consider.
Yeah,
putting
in
there.
certain, and I like that in certain circumstances
Yep.
language, because, you know, if somebody's being consistently irresponsible, that's, you know, sometimes until that hits their pocket, it doesn't sink in.
Well, even then, sometimes it's just after the 3rd, 4th, 5th time, it's like, okay, be responsible.
It looks like some redundant things were removed. Oh, interesting.
I like when it's just that though. This is okay. We did that somewhere else. Get
It's
rid
just
of it.
like, oh yeah, why didn't we think of saying that?
Because we read it so many times.
This is interesting on page 59. The employee grievance and dispute. I'm sorry. No, I'm reading the wrong thing.
Oh, wait a minute, go back to 58.
Where am I missing 58?
Yeah, 21.
Oh, this is covered elsewhere in the handbook.
Yep.
So she took that, the COBRA
All right.
reference. She also took out the reference to the copies of material.
It's funny, some of these things I look at and go, I don't even remember that being in there. Did we actually take it out?
I know.
It just didn't go in that
Yep.
version?
Yep.
Well, what's interesting is when I pulled up the final version, because remember for a while we were working off of that sheet.
Yep.
So the final version of this had, I think, still some excerpts in it from the old policies. So that could
It
be
could.
how it got crossed over. And I, in my mind, tried to just do my best to
I don't know.
differentiate between what was old and what was new.
I'm sorry, by the time we were done, I don't know which was in and what
Same
was
here.
out and what we changed and what we didn't, and we changed.
Well, we only had like 6 different copies of it.
And all on different pages.
I know, this is so nice to actually.
So is she questioning all of this last, under the grievance thing? Or what's 20?
So A22, she's basically saying she doesn't think that's a good process, that we should take it out.
All the stuff that she's got crossed off, right?
No, the last paragraph
Oh.
on the last
An
paragraph
employee may submit.
Oh.
that A22 refers back to.
So what does she recommend there? Or just
Yeah, what does
not
she-
have any grievance?
It's a good question. It ends with, we would be happy to discuss this, how this can be narrowed.
No, this one.
Well, it's, and
Yeah, it's the
A23
same.
is the same.
So that was discipline it was in, but the person, I think, is she saying that, that the process is already in the employee grievance and dispute resolution thing, and do we need to have that under discipline?
No.
That part saying an employee may submit a written,
I think what she's saying, it kind of, comment A22 carries over into A23. I think what she's saying is the way this is written, it allows very minor work issues to be elevated in a way that could take a good deal of other employees' time. So it
Yeah.
sounds like that policy itself needs to be rewritten, and maybe I need to ask her for a sample one,
Yeah.
or I need to look for a sample one from another, I'll look for a sample one for another town and see if, I mean, she's kind of saying she doesn't like the whole policy.
Well, I was gonna say this also brings it to the board,
Yeah.
the select board.
Let me look
Just
around
also-
and see what other towns are doing, and then I can ask her to what her thoughts were on that. Check other towns. All right, we're getting through slowly but surely.
Oh, it's 24.
A24, this was removed to avoid. Oh, interesting.
I don't remember us putting that in there, but that's all right.
So there was a reference to
Colleges.
which I thought was
In
odd
schools.
because we don't necessarily do, but the reference to
Does that
looking
look
at
familiar to you?
that was in there in the last version that I
Well, this is
Picked
towards
up.
the end though, so we might, by that time, we were like, yeah, whatever.
oh maybe
It could have been, let's get home.
well she
Wait a minute.
recommends we remove the recruiting at colleges and
Okay.
Yeah.
vocational schools because it implies the town has a pretext to hire young candidates or has a
Oh.
preference. I think she meant
Okay.
preference.
Okay,
Isn't that what
yeah,
the
I'm okay with that.
correctional institutions are doing now?
Well, I was gonna say the state is doing that
The state's
now,
doing it in
Is
a
they're
big way.
actually working with internships.
Yeah, they're trying to get
Yep, to
anybody.
get people to come into the municipalities.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
So on 65, page 65, she just had some feedback on the performance improvement plan timeline for improvement, consequences, and expectations. And she says, you might want to replace this with a feedback, but isn't so prescriptive. So instead of doing days, like 30, 45, 60, you could have an initial feedback memo, a follow-up feedback memo, and a final status memo. That way, you don't have to wait the 60 days if you see the changes you need. Which is not a bad suggestion.
That would be helpful, because if it's something that like after a week is like gonna cause major problems, yeah,
And you have to wait for
for a full
45 or
But,
60
yeah.
days. Yeah. I like that. I also like the, instead of saying effective immediately, you are placed on a 60-day PIP, you could say effective immediately, you are placed on a performance improvement plan not to exceed 60 calendar days. So that way they can come off it
Yeah,
sooner
I like
if they're
that.
able to.
Yeah, I like that.
I do too. All right. Now we get to our FMLA. Weird. Why did she take that out? Oh, she just condensed it. Okay. Added for okay, so.
So that we were
she
right.
just condensed.
The information about what immediate family is included in FMLA is included in Appendix C. So that's why she took that out of the policy itself.
Okay. So she was just, I think, trying to maybe condense some
Yep.
of the redundancies.
Yep.
Comment A27. I've been thinking about this because parental leave is becoming more common for the non-pregnant spouse or non-pregnant partner. Is there, so I know she added personal
I
leave in
thought she
here.
said you couldn't use personal
But I
leave.
thought, yeah. And if we're requiring you to take your accrued vacation up front, isn't that a little contradictory? Because why couldn't you use your sick leave.
Well, my other question is what's 50%? 50% of the time you need the leave, or 50% of your total that you get for the year?
Any accrued vacation, it looks like. At that time, it sounds 50%
But that's
of
the
any
question,
accrued.
because if I used up all of
What do you
my,
mean?
if I've already used up 50% of my vacation time, do I have to use up any more? Or do I have to use up 50% of what I have at the time that I asked for?
To me, that reads you have to use up 50% of what you have at the time when you take the leave. I don't.
No, I think what we talked about
Because that
was
was a
50% of your yearly accrual.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
I believe that's what we talked about when we said that if it's not to care for your own serious health condition, then they had to use 50% of their accrued time that they accrue on an annual basis. Is that?
But did you mean for that to apply for parental leave? Because that's
Yes.
lumped in here too.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, anybody, if it's not for their own care. So if we have, if it's for the person's own serious health condition, I don't even see that on here. Wait a minute.
That contradicts the
Okay, but if
current
June,
situation we have going on, June, which I can't speak about, but
No, right. But
you know what I'm saying?
I do, yeah, and that's what I mean, because it's come up before. not
That's why
just
we
right now.
approved it in May, so that we'd have the language in place, the birth or placement. So I don't even see in here. Eligible employees may use, this leave can be used for the birth or placement of a child,
FinCom's gonna-
caring for an immediate family member,
Julie,
medical leave when the employee is unable to work because of a serious health condition. So the goal was that we brought this up because a situation had occurred and we weren't sure how this person could be out of work for as long as they were and getting paid their sick leave when they weren't the ones that were sick. So we talked about it and went around, and one of the suggestions was that perhaps we would want to consider, if it's to care for another person other than the employee themselves, that they were allowed to use up to 50% of their annual
They had
accrual.
to.
Right.
Yeah, they had to.
But
They
for
had
some
to
reason,
use
I
it.
didn't see paternity leave as falling within that definition, because that has its own, I think we might be contradicting the paternity leave. Yeah. Let me look into it a little bit. I know FinCom's going to be coming
You
in. Do we
mean
want?
parental leave?
Yeah.
Yeah, parental leave, I don't think, it's just like, because that runs concurrent with FMLA.
Right, but if we're saying you can't, so I guess you could use your sick if you take No, now you're saying you can't use your. You
No
could use your
sick.
sick if you use the paternity leave.
So this
but
is
not
to
the
care for a
FMLA.
newborn child.
Right.
So the way I look at it, a parental leave is to care for yourself mainly, and then the next step of it, if they wanted to stay out for another 12 weeks, in addition to the 8 weeks that they're out on parental leave, right? Because parental leave, you can use your sick time. Right, June?
That's what I thought.
Parental leave you can, but
So
Yeah.
I think we're contradicting ourselves
I think
here
so, too.
by saying we have to take out the care for a newborn child out of this, because you can use it. You can use your sick leave under parental leave.
Okay.
Right, well, or we just, I don't know, maybe we're just saying under FMLA you can't use it, but under paternal leave you can.
well, you can here. It says underneath the family medical leave, you can use it for a child, but the child has to be under 18 years of age.
Yeah. I can look at this a little bit more and come back with a recommendation.
15 years.
So do we stop there, or?
I think it's a good place to stop if that's okay
Yeah.
with you
Yeah,
all. I mean,
'cause
we
you
got
guys
through more
Yeah,
than
because
half of it.
they're starting to come in now, because
Yeah.
they start
Oh.
at 7:30.
Okay, all right.
But, so
Yeah,
I'll
no,
work
that's
on that
great.
part of it, and then we can
That
work
that
on
wasn't
some
as
more.
painful as I thought it was going to be. Seriously.
We
Thank you.
try to keep it as
Thank you for
less
walking.
painful as possible.
Just because what we thought that And I will make a motion that we adjourn the meeting.
And I'll second that motion. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you.